So what do you think happened that night?
They got in a fight. She left. When her purse is found, it has cash, it has credit cards.
A young mother is reported missing after a suspicious chain of events.
There was a man's footprint that was on the floorboard of that vehicle.
An unlikely eyewitness.
He was 3 years old at the time. The details were wildly inconsistent.
A marriage on the rocks.
There were members of the family who said, oh yeah, that's possible. Maybe she just left.
And buried secrets.
It was round. It has the shape of a skull.
I mean, what are the odds of somebody excavating their backyard and finding a body?
Yeah, slim to none. Yeah, slim to none.
A missing person case turns into murder. Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé brings us to the coastal city of Jacksonville, Florida. The sunny beach community made headlines when a young mother disappeared in the middle of the night, leaving behind a heartbroken family. The search would take investigators decades until a chance discovery would unearth the painful truth. It was a cloudy Thursday morning in January when police received a call from a concerned hotel employee regarding property belonging to 23-year-old Bonnie Haim.
The maintenance man at the Red Roof Inn by the Jacksonville International Airport discovers Bonnie's purse in a dumpster.
When her purse is found, it has cash, it has credit cards.
Hundreds of dollars had been left behind.
The purse contained valuables in it, made it inconsistent with the robbery, and certainly led to the conclusion that foul play was involved.
That theory was confirmed later that night when Bonnie's car, a champagne-colored Toyota Camry, was found in the airport's long-term parking lot.
The interesting thing about the vehicle was there was sand in the driver's seat, and it was almost looked like beach sand. It's very white, very clear. Bonnie had a very clean car. And the sand had what appeared to be a thread pattern of sand left behind on the driver's floor mat of Bonnie's car.
It appeared to be a man's footprint, and police believed it belonged to whomever drove Bonnie's car to the airport.
When they find her vehicle in the parking lot of the airport, the vehicle seat's pushed all the way back. She was a petite individual. She was not tall. She was small. Whenever she drove her car, she had to pull the seat up very close to the steering wheel. It wasn't a habit of hers to push the seat all the way back whenever she got out of the vehicle.
Police had tried contacting Bonnie that morning when they found her purse, but reached her husband, Michael Haim, instead.
Police said, hey, we found your wife's purse in the dumpster. What's going on? Michael says, we had a big fight last night. She's been really depressed. She said she needed some time away, and she got in the car and drove.
Michael believed she had willingly left town, and he had not filed a missing persons report.
They were going through some domestic issues. Michael claimed that she had left the house after an argument. It was 11 o'clock in the evening.
After about an hour, Michael said he called his mother to stay with the couple's young son so that he could look for his wife. But the search was fruitless. The next morning, Bonnie was nowhere to be found.
Bonnie never shows up for work.
Michael believed his wife had given up on their rocky relationship.
They got in a fight. She left. He figured that she was having an affair. And that she left with whoever this individual was that she was having an affair with.
It was no secret Bonnie wanted out of the marriage. It lent credence to the theory that she had driven herself to the airport and left town. But there was one glaring issue with that theory. Those who knew Bonnie well told police Bonnie would never abandon her 3-year-old son, Aaron.
They knew early on that they're going to have to file a missing person report. The evidence was leading them down that path.
Law enforcement acted swiftly given the troubling clues they had discovered.
When you take all these things and you're going to leave, do you leave cash in your wallet and your credit cards in your purse? Because you might make the argument that she was trying to get a flight out of Jacksonville. Well, none of that makes sense either, because everything that she would need to get on a flight was in her purse.
a massive search was launched for the missing mother.
They did flyers, they did searches, they employed the media, especially once her vehicle was located at the airport. Then there's a search to see if she had taken any flights out of Jacksonville.
It seemed as though Bonnie Haim had vanished into thin air.
This is your thoughts exactly.
Daddy shot mommy.
The details were wildly inconsistent. Although we knew the difference between the truth and the lie, was not an excellent witness.
The disappearance of Bonnie Haim had set a massive search effort into motion for the beloved mother.
Bonnie was a young, beautiful woman starting her family here in Jacksonville.
She was a great mother. Her life was Aaron. She was a great family member. She had a great relationship with both sides, her in-laws and her own family.
Investigators weren't sure if Bonnie had willingly left town, but the evidence seemed to indicate otherwise.
The fact that her purse was found in one location and then her vehicle was found in another location, and the contents of her purse contained credit cards, it contained cash.
No one had heard from Bonnie since, and none of the evidence led investigators to believe she'd actually made it out of town.
Another red flag for us was that a key that was used to move the vehicle was a spare key.
It appeared Bonnie had left behind everything she would have wanted to take with her, especially her young son.
A reasonable person is going to grab the keys that they always use. She's going to grab her son, and she's going to grab belongings, the stuff that she's going to need for a 3-year-old child. She's just not going to leave using a spare key.
Investigators questioned Bonnie's family and friends to learn more about her marriage to Michael Haim. For someone whose wife had suddenly vanished without a trace, he seemed particularly aloof.
The mother of his 3-year-old child is missing. If he loves her as much as he claims he did, where's the emotion? Where's the plea for the media to help him out? Where's all the things that should be taking place?
During the days and weeks after her disappearance, Michael did not look very long for her. And he kind of was very quick to stop looking for her, whereas other members of the family continued to search. As they searched, they actually would go through fields and woods in the areas surrounding the airport or other places they thought she may have disappeared from, and actually try to find her body.
As investigators dug deeper, they learned Bonnie was resolved in her decision to leave her husband Michael.
She was making plans to leave Michael, and she had already started a bank account. She told everyone that she was going to take Aaron and she was going to leave him. Right before her disappearance, they got in an argument in a parking lot, and he slammed her fingers in a door and broke her nails, and she was bleeding from her fingers, and had to go into work and explain to her aunt that she needed, first aid on these.
While Michael told investigators he believed his wife may have left with another man, investigators began to suspect she had been the victim of foul play at the hands of her husband.
Based on his victimology of Bonnie, she was a loving wife, she was a loving mother, and though they had their differences and he was becoming more controlling and more violent, she decided she wasn't going to live that lifestyle and that she was going to leave.
A cursory search of the Haim residence turned up a new lead.
And then, interestingly enough, Mr. Haim's sneakers had a very similar pattern of shoe tread and would have at least been consistent with the shoe print that was left behind.
Bonnie and Michael were sometimes overheard fighting.
One of the neighbors said that they would hear arguments with those two from time to time.
Another factor that led police to believe Michael Haim was hiding something is that he too missed work on the day Bonnie disappeared.
He calls in sick and Bonnie never shows up for work. Ultimately, when the missing persons case is filed, it's not filed by him, it's filed by us, the police. And so that was one of the factors that really started the ball rolling into a foul play scenario here.
Investigators then turned to the only eyewitness who may have seen anything on the evening Bonnie disappeared.
Detective Henson had a child psychologist interview Aaron. In that interview, produced some statements that Aaron made about daddy shot mommy and daddy put mommy in timeout.
Something else about this is special. Because I think this is your thoughts exactly. Am I right? Is this what you think? Well, I'm wondering, since you obviously are such a smarty pants, can you read this? Would you like me to read it?
I do not want my dad to kill other people.
And while it seemed the circumstantial evidence was mounting against Michael Haim, none of it proved beyond a reasonable doubt that he had anything to do with Bonnie's disappearance. Not even his shoe print left in her car.
They had shared use of that car. The argument contrary to that we made as investigators is well, this is Florida sand. It doesn't take much to disturb that footprint. And if anyone else got in that car and drove that car, that footprint would have been demolished.
Aaron's statements were not enough to create a case against Haim either.
The interviews and the descriptions that Aaron gave over the first 6 months to a year of the case all surround the fact that his father was responsible. He was giving very inconsistent stories about what had happened. And so her disappearance and the shoe print and the fight the night before and your 3-year-old's inconsistent statements did not lead to a prosecutable case.
And the case against Michael Haim went nowhere.
It was round, it has the shape of a skull, but he thought it was a coconut.
As much as Bonnie's loved ones wanted to bring her back home, decades passed without a single promising lead. Even her son's memories of his mother had faded.
Over time, Aaron was unable to recall the events. No specific recollection of any of these. And so the case just sat there.
Michael Haim remarried and moved to North Carolina, and Aaron had inherited the family home in Jacksonville, Florida.
26 years later, Aaron decides that he is going to sell the house. He doesn't want to keep it anymore. He doesn't want to deal with it. It's always bringing up memories.
He felt like the pool was in disrepair, and Aaron had made the decision to cover up the pool so he could sell it. So he and some friends brought a backhoe into the backyard and began to destroy the swimming pool area and dig it up so they could resell the house.
It was during the excavation that a pipe burst beneath the outdoor shower.
And so they now have to dig up where the shower is to see if they can find a water supply. And Aaron is digging with a shovel there, and he hits something solid.
As he brushed away the dirt, he saw it was something round.
He thought it was coconut underneath where the slab was poured. And then they recognized that there were teeth down there. And at that point, they backed off and said, this is a person, this is a skull.
Aaron notified the sheriff's department right away, and the site was carefully excavated.
She was believed to be wearing a pink sweatsuit of sorts, and there were fibers that were consistent with that. Also in there was a .22 caliber shell casing. Michael Haim had a .22 caliber rifle, and that's the casing that was found in the hull. All of the circumstantial evidence was highly consistent with him killing her.
I mean, what are the odds of somebody excavating their backyard and finding a body?
Yeah, slim to none. Yeah, slim to none. And so we didn't charge him immediately because we had to know that it was her. We had to get the DNA back and say that, yeah, this is definitely Bonnie, not somebody else in the period of the 26 years that she was missing.
Investigators assigned to Bonnie's cold case took a look at the case file with fresh eyes.
When we opened the case file, we spread it out on the conference table and we started going through some of the photographs. There was one key photograph that comes into play that was taken by an evidence technician. And that is the location where the shower pad was, where ultimately her remains are found underneath that shower pad. Well, that shower pad didn't exist back then.
In the photos investigators had in front of them, Instead of the shower pad, there was chlorine containers stacked above the location where Bonnie's body was later found.
They had a shed in the backyard, and all the pool equipment and everything for the pool was in that shed, with the exception of the chlorine bottles, which were on the location where that grave would be discovered.
It was the perfect diversion.
You know, the chlorine containers, if you've ever had a pool or ever been around chlorine containers, it's very strong. It's a very strong odor. It's going to cover up any odors that you would think you might, smell. And by the way of all of them being stacked in that location, you wouldn't expect to see grass there. You would expect that, well, if this is where he keeps them, of course, this is what it's supposed to look like.
49-year-old Michael Haim was arrested in North Carolina after DNA testing confirmed the buried remains were those of his wife, Bonnie. He was extradited back to Florida to face charges.
Michael Haim was always the number one and primary suspect from the day that, and the missing piece was her body. And it wasn't just that she was found in the woods somewhere. It is far more probative that she was located in the home where only Michael Haim could have buried her.
What was his reaction to being arrested?
He remained unemotional and very stoic. You would expect somebody who's been through all that to have some sort of emotion, but he never did.
Prosecutors presented the circumstantial evidence against him. So what do you think happened that night, based on your research?
I believe that Bonnie was shot. I think that's the most logical explanation. Obviously, there's no flesh left. There was never a projectile found. So to conclusively say she was shot, we can't do that. Neighbors didn't hear a gunshot. Interestingly enough, Mr. Haim did own a .22 caliber rifle, which could have been the weapon used. We don't know.
Prosecutors made sure the jury knew the devastating repercussions of Michael Haim's actions.
This tragic moment in the trial was when Aaron testified that the only memory of his mother was holding her skull in his hand.
It was an emotional trial, and the jury took 90 minutes to return their guilty verdict. During Michael Haim's sentencing hearing, Bonnie's family addressed the judge.
One of the family members stood up in front of the judge and said, "Hey, Your Honor, we feel like he should be exposed to 26 years. We recognize that that's 4 years outside of the guidelines. However, this family's been tortured for 26 years.
Michael Haim was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of his wife, Bonnie. And although their son, Aaron, does not recall the details of the crime, he lives with the trauma of having witnessed his mother's murder as a child. And he urges anyone in an abusive relationship with children to remember the children are watching. And now it is time for today's Safety Spotlight. Before a partner engages in domestic violence, there are often warning signs that occur before things escalate to abuse, or in this case, murder. If your partner is engaging in manipulation, isolation, jealousy, or violent behavior, your relationship might be headed into dangerous territory. People with children may feel particularly vulnerable or hesitant to leave a toxic relationship due to financial or housing insecurity, and they may also fear retaliation or losing custody of their children. But know that is an important step and that resources and help are available. If you are a victim of domestic violence or fear for your safety, contact law enforcement or the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For everybody here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe. Albuquerque police weren't sure if they had a murder on their hands.
Girly Chu was a young woman from Malaysia. She really was trying to fulfill her American dream.
Was this man doing anything illegal?
He was a con artist portraying himself as a doctor.
This guy is not a doctor, but he's performing medical procedure. I mean, it's totally insane.
It is human blood. It matches that of Girly Chu.
And he did this to women he supposedly loved?
He cared little about the women. They were nothing more than pawns to him.
I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's crime expose takes us to Albuquerque, New Mexico. A young wife who sought the American dream vanished without a trace. Her dream became a nightmare when a twisted conspiracy theory made her out to be the queen of aliens, and an unholy union led to murder. The American dream. For a young 19-year-old Malaysian woman named Girly Chu, it was always just out of reach. Girly was so enamored by the dream, she came looking for it. It was more magical than she imagined.
Girly Chu was a young woman from Malaysia who came to America searching for a better life. She really was trying to fulfill her American dream.
She meets an individual by the name of Diazin Hassankopf, and he tells her that he's a doctor and there's a spark that hits both of them.
She goes to New Mexico with him. They get married quite quickly and the honeymoon ends fast.
Diazin was a con artist portraying himself as a doctor, and he told people that he could inject them with a serum that he had developed that would return their youth and could cure cancer. He would prey on these people and he would take them for thousands of dollars. This is how he made his living.
This guy is not a doctor. He's not an MD, but he's performing medical procedure. I mean, it's totally insane.
He's having affairs with multiple women, and he becomes very abusive to Girly Chu, and she finds out that he's a fraud. Girly Chu finds Diazin in the garage one day. He jumps up, grabs her by the neck, and tries to strangle her. She manages to escape. She then tells her co-workers at the bank that this man is threatening to kill her.
Finally, Girly Chu had enough of Dacian's unhinged behavior and moved into an apartment. Meanwhile, Dacian has set his sights on an intergalactic connection. He needed a mate who shared in his dark vision of the universe of an alien threat.
Diazin is at a UFO event and he meets a woman named Linda Henning. She was very involved in beliefs of the occult and spirituality and UFOs. Linda becomes totally enamored with Diazin very quickly, and the bedrock of their relationship is this belief in these evil reptilians.
She believed that there were reptile aliens that controlled the earth, and she started to tell her friends that Diazin was actually an alien who was hundreds of years old, and then she encouraged them to take the injections so that their youth could be rejuvenated. So she fell totally under the spell of Diazin, and she became a die-hard UFO conspiracy theorist.
They believed these aliens were evil creatures whom Dacian and Linda believed were taking over the human race. In record time, Dacian convinced Linda that they were cosmic soulmates, and the two lovers formed a twisted bond.
Diazin starts to control Henning's life, and he separates her very quickly from her friend, especially the ones that tell her that they have doubts about Diazin. So she starts to also isolate herself from anybody that speaks badly of Diazin.
So how was he able to control his girlfriend Linda, who was so successful and beautiful and had her own life?
Diazin was very compelling. Henning was just a viable piece of clay for him.
While preaching the gospel of the reptilians, Dacian neglected to tell Linda he had a wife, but he hadn't forgotten.
One day, Girly, who is always on time or early to work, she was a very diligent worker, she doesn't show up to the bank. And all of her friends at work are immediately scared because they know about what's been going on with Diazin.
So they become very concerned, and they call the Albuquerque Police Department.
Police go to Girly's apartment, and when they walk in, they are completely alarmed by what they see. There's a very strong odor of bleach in the apartment, and there's no Girly to be found. And then they quickly realize that there's been a huge amount of blood that someone has attempted to clean up. So they spray luminol, and then they see all of this blood, and alarm bells go ringing.
They do swabs of the wet spots. They send them to the laboratory, and very quickly they determine that it is human blood. It matches that of Girly Chu.
So quickly the police start to look for Diazian, and they find amongst his things Linda Henning's name. And so they also start looking for her.
A few days after Girly Chu's troubling disappearance, there was a development in the case.
A highway department employee in Magdalena, New Mexico, which is about 100 miles away from Albuquerque, and he saw what he thought was a blanket very close to the highway. It's a large tarp, and he finds blood on this tarp, and next to the tarp he finds clothing also that were covered in blood.
And also they find masking tape that was clearly looked like handcuffs.
On the duct tape, he found what looked like female hair. So he gathered these materials up and took him to the police. The hair strands matched that of Girly Chu. The blood on the tarp and the clothing also matched Girly Chu's.
Albuquerque police weren't sure if they had a murder on their hands, but it looked very bad for Girly Chu. Her husband, Diazian, had done a disappearing act, and Linda, his new girlfriend, wasn't talking.
She met him at a UFO conference, and also that she didn't know Girly Chu.
Albuquerque police had a mystery on their hands. Girly Chu, estranged wife of Diazian Hasenkopf, had disappeared. A bloody scene at her apartment led cops to suspect she may have been murdered. They needed to speak with her husband, but he had left town.
Diazian was later found in Charleston, South Carolina, living with another woman that he was engaged to, even though he was still married to Girly Chu.
Meanwhile, cops zeroed in on Diazian's girlfriend, Linda Henning. The reptilian poster girl, on a mission to warn the world of an alien threat, had more pressing issues.
After Diazian was taken into custody, they went to Linda Henning, questioned her, and she stated that she barely knew Diazian, that she met him at a UFO conference, and also that she didn't know Girly Chu. But investigators were able to determine that she banked at the Bank of America branch where Girly Chu worked, and at least on one occasion, Girly Chu was the teller that she dealt with.
They search Linda Henning's place, and in the garage they find something very peculiar. They find a samurai sword.
The blade of the sword had blood on it. On the handle, there was some additional blood, and it appeared to match the blood of Diazian. They also found a shotgun and a Beretta 22 caliber handgun at Henning's residence.
So they obtain a DNA sample from Linda, and they discover that not only is Girly's blood all over the apartment, Linda's blood is there as well, as a lot of cat hairs, because Linda had multiple cats. So we know now that something was going on with Linda and Girly.
Circumstantial evidence was mounting that Linda Henning was responsible for the murder of Girly Chu, and police suspected that the victim's husband may have orchestrated the plot. And it appeared that Dizian had been playing both ends against the middle all along.
Diane knew that the focus is always on the husband. So he took it upon himself, even though he was having an affair with Linda Henning, to plant evidence at Girly Chu's apartment that would frame Linda Henning. So he cared little about the women that he was involved in. They were nothing more than pawns to him.
So there's a grand jury convened. The police understood that the amount of blood they found everywhere, there was no way that Girly could still be alive. So even though they didn't have a body, both Linda and Dizian are charged with murder.
So did Linda Henning point a finger at Girly's husband, Dizian?
When she's first arrested, defends Dizian, says that he's a wonderful doctor, that, he's done nothing wrong. Dizian is facing the death penalty, so he cuts a deal with prosecutors.
Dizian, this guy who thought he was such a genius, so much smarter than everyone else, he's dead to rights. And so he pleads guilty to murder. And he agrees to not only testify against Linda at her trial, but also to lead investigators to Girly's body so she can be sent back to her family.
Linda Henning starts to realize that, she's not going to be the alien queen that he promised her. She's not going to be given extra powers. So she knows that she could be the one facing the death penalty. She starts to panic, and she tells people Dizian conned her into participating in Girly Chu's murder.
Dizian Hassenkopf, the eccentric salesman of alien conspiracies, was about to reveal his dark heart in court.
Dizian is thrilled to death because he's getting his moment. He doesn't care about Linda.
The murder of Girly Chu had taken an unexpected turn. Although Girly had yet to be found, her estranged husband, Dizian Hassenkopf, pled guilty to murder to avoid the death penalty. As part of his deal with prosecutors, he promised to tell police where his wife's body was, but first, he had agreed to testify at Linda Henning's murder trial. And police say Dizian had been rehearsing this performance his entire life.
Dizian comes into the courtroom and he is kind of doing this full Charles Manson madman. He's glaring at the families, he's glaring at Linda, and he clearly loves this attention. This is his moment to be on stage and be important.
Did he appear to show any remorse or shame for his part in this murder?
Dizian enters the courtroom smiling like the Cheshire Cat. And he takes the stand and he starts to tell the jury that Girly Chu was hunted down and that she knew she was going to die, and that he hoped that she died an excruciating death. And at that point in time, the jury looked at him as though he was the devil personified.
Dizian is supposed to be a defense witness for Linda, but he's actually just absolutely crazy on the stand, and he becomes her worst nightmare. I am sure her defense attorney was just hanging his head like, why did we call this man? And Dizian is thrilled to death because he's getting his moment. He doesn't care about Linda, he cares about himself. What's really disgusting is the way he taunts Girly's family. It's just totally repulsive.
Dizian Hassenkopf claimed that he was responsible for Girly's murder, but there was nothing noble in his words, at that moment, it became clear he had played Linda Henning.
The explanation given by Diazan as to planting Linda Henning's blood at Girly Chu's apartment is disingenuous. He said that he was trying to confuse the investigators. Well, Diazan inadvertently also ties himself to the scene where allegedly the murder took place.
Diazan Hasenkopf had nothing to lose by testifying, but Linda Henning was on the hook for murder and faced a death sentence. This was a chance for Diazan to save her, but on the stand, he didn't do her any favors.
So Linda is also convicted of murder. And honestly, I think he liked that. I think his main goal is manipulating people and getting reactions out of people. And even if it was bad, it was more fun for him.
Linda Henning was very fortunate to escape the death penalty, but she received about 73 years, which could, in essence, be a life sentence for her.
An innocent young woman was dead at the hands of two obsessed lovers. The shocking crime and trial nearly obscured the victim, Girly Chu.
This is such a tragic story. Girly Chu had her life ripped from her, all because of this stupid fantasy world that Diazan had created and that Linda believed in. And in the process, Girly Chu was murdered, Linda Henning's life was destroyed, and for what?
Diazan Hasenkopf reneged on his agreement to lead police to her body. Girly has never been found. The murder of Girly Chu was one of the strangest murder cases Albuquerque had ever seen. It was as senseless as it was cruel. Diazan Hasenkopf and Linda Henning's twisted alien agenda became a murderous plot for their own selfish needs and victimized a young woman and her family. And now it is time for today's Safety Spotlight. Some individuals driven by extremist beliefs or conspiracy theories can resort to violence, targeting family members, public figures, and others. Law enforcement suspected the perpetrators in this case were motivated by their UFO-related conspiracy theories, which led them to brutally murder Girly Chu. While not all extremist behavior leads to criminal activity, there are warning signs that indicate a person may resort to violence. Some signs include making threats, hostile behavior, expressing violent plans or intent, stockpiling weapons, and becoming fixated on acceptance. If you observe suspicious activity like this, contact and report it to your local law enforcement, who can determine whether this behavior warrants further action. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For everybody here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.